and we are the Y'all Show. Hello, I'm John Rawl. Welcome into the All Southern program where we discuss things about the South and more news, sports, cooking, travel. Oh, yes, even a little politics. And we have a very special guest joining us right now on the program, a former special assistant to President Donald J. Trump, Kelly Sadler. She's on the Y'all Show, and she's right here today to talk to us. Hello, Kelly.
Hello, it's good to be here.
Good to be with you. Now, this isn't too much of a challenge to have you come on a show called Y'all, is it?
I'm from upstate New
I
York
know you are.
originally, so don't hold it against me. I'm
Uh,
a Yankee.
yeah, you're. See, you know it, and that's the problem we have here in the South. We have a lot of people who don't realize it, but maybe you're a reformed Yankee. You've lived in the D.C. area for some time. Do you live in Northern Virginia?
I live in Virginia, yeah,
Okay.
so I tried to pick the southernmost state and
Okay.
still be able to get into the swamp on a daily
I
basis.
got you. Well, we have you on for several reasons, of course. With your home state in mind, of course, it's getting hit very hard right now with the coronavirus, Kelly. And before we get into all that, I'm assuming you still have family and friends in the Empire State. What's going on? How you people doing? And just some words about your native New York.
Yeah, so thanks for asking. My grandmother is in a nursing home in upstate New York. And my sister and my whole family, like, still lives up there. Everyone is doing well. No one is sick at this point. Um, you know, uh, let's just take the partisan politics out of this for a second. I think that Governor Cuomo is doing an outstanding job. Every day he goes on TV and he reassures, New Yorkers and is very specific with what he's doing and, that this is going to get worse before it gets better. But he's fighting for New Yorkers and working with the president to make sure that they're cared for. And we've seen, private industry step up like we've never that I've never seen in my lifetime. So everyone is optimistic that we'll get through this. We'll get through this together. But things could get a little worse before they get better.
And Kelly, you're a person who comes from the world of politics. Are you a little bit surprised that the political side of this thing has gotten so much attention and maybe more so than the medical side?
No, unfortunately, the Democrats want to use this as a political tool to remove President Trump.
Hmm.
And we've seen this, we see this now with what's going on in the Senate. In the Senate, there is a stimulus bill that is needed for mainstream, for Main Street America. 51% of the private economy is small businesses. And they are going to be going under this week if they do not get the loans that they need to cover payroll and keep people employed. And so it's such a necessity to get this bill passed, to get these loans to Main Street. And we're seeing Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi basically go in at the last minute and blow everything up. And what I'm reading from this bill today is Nancy Pelosi is putting, completely unrelated Democrat wish list items, including election security funding, same day voter registration, carbon emission regulations, solar and wind tax subsidies into what is supposed to be a coronavirus stimulus bill. It is absolutely disgusting. She's nuked a bipartisan agreement to sneak in Democratic campaign platforms, and it's really unconscionable at this point in time.
Visiting with Kelly Riddell Sadler, and she's with America First Action, a former special assistant to President Trump. She was working in the White House back in the early days of the administration. And then, Kelly, let's be honest, you kind of got in the media a good bit 2 years ago over evidently you said something maybe not so nice, and that got blown up pretty big around the world. You ended up leaving the White House, and now you're still in good grace with President Trump. Heck, you're working for his official super PAC.
Yeah, absolutely. There's leaks and there's things that you can comment on and can't comment on when you're in your official capacity. But, my support for the president has never wavered. I believe he's doing great things for this country and is a leader we need, especially amidst this crisis that we're facing with coronavirus.
Now we are, of course, know that this is an election year, coronavirus and all, and you've got your work cut out for you. This is something that the enemy, if you will, is going to use against President Trump. We're already seeing that, And so, Kelly, I know you're certainly on the Trump train. A lot of the South obviously is as well. And if there was something virus related, that if the president could have a mulligan, since he's a big golfer, is there anything that you would recommend that he at least maybe tries to remedy now so that it won't come back to bite him in November?
Well, I think a lot of what the president is going to be doing in the next 2 months will decide, what happens in November. I think he's doing a terrific job every day coming out and briefing the public
Mm-hmm.
on exactly what's going on with the task force, with the doctors beside him, the Surgeon General, the Vice President. He needs to be honest with the American public that this is going to get worse before it gets better. At the same time, we've got to start thinking about when we do come out of this economically, where are we going to be and what is this going to look like, and plan for that. And I think his team is doing just that. We've got a way, this could be something that goes into the election cycle, probably will be. And so what does the recovery plan look like once this is put behind us? And I think we'll be seeing a lot more from the president's team on that side of things. But I just want to reiterate what the Senate is doing today and tomorrow, and that we need a massive stimulus bill injected into the economy so that, working class men and women, small businesses can get the help that they need, they so desperately need, so they do not close, they do not lay off employees, so that once we do come out at the end of this, that they're able to turn things right back on and we're able to get this economy humming again.
This is 2020, which means, of course, it is an election year. And prior to the coronavirus coming aboard and dominating the headlines, of course, we saw Joe Biden's emergence as the the contender that the Democrats are going to put up against President Trump in the fall. And so if you don't mind taking your coronavirus hat off, Kelly, and let's talk a little Democratic politics versus President Trump. Did you expect Joe Biden to have the rally that he's had?
Well, I mean, he was always the front runner.
Even when he came in fifth place, he was the front runner.
Yeah, well, from the national polls perspective,
okay,
he was always the front runner. But then he lost in Iowa, in New Hampshire, in Nevada. He was always a bad candidate at the beginning, and the voters in those three states recognized that, and there was a reason why they voted for other contenders. But he never fell off our radar. We were always, gathering oppo on Joe Biden. We were always collecting, our books on him in case he did pull something out of a hat and become, the nominee. And, after Nevada, I would have said, now we're going to go into a contested convention. Bernie Sanders might pull it out, but there's no way mathematically right now that Bernie Sanders has any chance at winning this nomination. It is Joe Biden's, he is the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party. And I feel bad for the Democrats because they just nominated a man that they did not want to win in the first three contests. But the field was so divided and so broken up that, South Carolina and the endorsement of Jim Clyburn, basically clinched it up for him. Mm-hmm. They don't want him any more than he really wants this. Where is Joe Biden right now? He is in his home in his basement doing some live Facebook Lives, but he's not taking questions from the press. He's not out meeting with people. When was the last time you saw him on a Sunday show? It was with Chris Wallace when he called Chris Wallace Chuck Todd. I mean, clearly something is going on with Joe Biden, but we look forward to getting into, his record. He's been a senator for 40 years. He's been on Capitol Hill, and now he's trying to convince the American people he can help solve the problems that he helped create as part of the swamp. And it's just disingenuous. And we look forward to getting, in the general with him.
We're visiting with
Taking
Kelly.
him on.
Yeah, we're visiting with Kelly Riddell Sadler. She is with America First Action. That's the official Donald J. Trump for President super PAC. And she's a former special assistant to President Donald Trump. And she's visiting with us today. And since, Kelly, we're a pro-Southern show here, the reason Joe Biden emerged as the likely presumptive nominee is because of the South, specifically what South
Hmm.
Carolina did to get him going. And then, my goodness, on Super Tuesday, Biden dominated and took every southern state, including Texas, which was quite a shock. And now he's certainly on that path to the nomination for the Democratic Party. The good news for Joe Biden is he's the presumptive nominee. The bad news, and good news for Republicans, is that those states that led him to this path, the southern states that propelled him to that, I can't think of one single state other than maybe Virginia that in November is going to be going for Joe Biden versus President Trump.
You're absolutely correct. The South is a stronghold for President Trump. As part of his reelection campaign and part of his PAC, we're focusing on the states. We're focusing on Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan. Those are, what we're deeming swing states that the votes there are really going to matter. So, in Georgia, we're going to be focusing a lot of our time. Florida's always been, a swing state, and North Carolina as well. And there's a lot of interesting things going on in that state. But, in terms of the politics, Joe Biden he calls himself, blue collar, middle class Joe, but he really has swung wildly, wildly to the left during this primary season. Bernie Sanders has pulled him into a lot of positions that are just really unpalatable for middle class Americans, like basically allowing illegal immigration into this country and then giving them free health care. Basically saying that he's going to halt all deportations for 100 days once he comes into office, saying that he's going to have Beto O'Rourke be, his gun czar and full of, and Beto, who called for gun confiscation when he was running for president. So there is just a lot of saying that he's going to ban all fossil fuels. I mean, we can go on and on, but in fracking is a huge issue in Pennsylvania and in Texas, where a lot of jobs and income and prosperity has been created. And then to have Joe Biden say, I'm gonna ban it all, is just a huge shock, would be a huge shock to this economy. And so he is, we feel very confident that his record and his policy proposals, we can go toe to toe with, on the campaign trail this year.
That hopefully for your case will be the way this thing plays out. How often do you have a chance to speak to your old boss, President Trump, Kelly?
Well, unfortunately, I firewalled off from him with the PAC due to FEC
Ah,
regulations. We cannot have
those
communication
darn
directly with the White House.
FEC regulations, they just always get in the way, don't they?
Yes, they do, but we are taking from his lead every day, and he's been so accessible. I mean, he's been out there every day putting forth his message. It's been very clear to us, very clear to the campaign. We know what we're running on, and we're defending him, and we're defending him against the fake news media that attacks him every single day, doing a lot of correct the record stuff. And we will all get through this coronavirus together. And this president just really wants us to unify at this time, and show America, and show Americans are good people. Let's come together. Let's defeat this, and let's be unified.
The thing that President Trump does better than any president in modern history, maybe ever, maybe even better than George Washington, is rally a big crowd. And with this coronavirus, of course, he's had to stop his big rallies. And maybe the one in Charleston could have been his last one he had. But that is certainly something that President Trump wants to get out of here for no other reason than to get out there and rally the troops again. So right now, since you're involved with the Super PAC, what are you doing to kind of keep that momentum of a President Trump rally going while everybody's essentially sheltering in place?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, the rallies have had to stop, and they've had to stop because of public health concerns. Right now, we are doing a lot on social media, making sure that everyone is getting our message via Facebook, via Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever applications that they use on social media. Um, right now, we've got to just be concerned about the public health safety as a number one priority, and making sure that the correct information is getting out to the American public. in terms of what their options are, how to deal with this, to stay at home and really kind of shelter in place until this passes. And then once this passes, we will, get up and running again. And we look forward to that. But first and foremost, we've really got to focus on the public safety concerns at this point.
Certainly understandable. Visiting with Kelly Sadler, wrapping up our conversation here at the Y'all Show. Hey, on Instagram, we're at Y'all Show. Invite you to find us there. And we're also on Facebook at Y'all Magazine, Y'all, the ultimate guide to the South. And you mentioned that right now, because of the virus outbreak, the rallies aren't happening across the land, Kelly. But one thing we hope does happen, and we just announced on the show this week as of, I think, Tuesday, or rather Monday, it was officially announced by the North Carolina GOP that they're still working hard to get the Republican National Convention to take place in Charlotte here this summer. So I assume you'll be in the Queen City along with several thousand Republicans, if indeed that rally happens, the Republican National Convention, where the president's officially nominated for president, and we're all hoping that that day comes and won't be postponed.
We are too. We're looking forward to it, and we're preparing for it. And God willing, we'll all be there, and it'll be an amazing event.
Yeah, and again, that's scheduled. Is that early August? Is when that's supposed to happen?
Yes, it's in August.
Okay.
After the Democratic Milwaukee convention.
Okay, the Democratic Milwaukee brouhaha.
And that'll be in July.
The melee that might happen there when the Bernie Bros don't get their nominee for president. Kelly, what else can the public what do they need to know about your super PAC there, America First? How can they, if they're interested in helping out, what can they do to help out the president here with your super PAC, America First Action?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Go to our website. It's www.a1apac.org. You can see kind of what we're up to, and you can donate if you're so inclined. Every dollar that we're going to raise from this point on is going to go directly back into the president's reelect.
Okay. And again, November will be here sooner than y'all might think. So if you're into supporting the president, America First Action Super PAC is the way to do that. Kelly Sadler, we wish you the best, and tell your grandma, everybody down here in the South, wishing her the best. In fact, what do you call your granny?
Mimi.
Mimi. Well, we wish Mimi all the best, Kelly, and same to you and everybody else in New York. Of course, here in the South, we're getting affected by this darn thing, too. So hopefully we'll all come out of it as best as we possibly can. Kelly Sadler, thank you very much.
Thank you.
More of the Y'all Show will continue right after this.